direction. No one can pull me out. I've always felt different from the others. I'm running away now. Fears are fading, won't stop bleeding. 'Cause I'm sick of standing up instead of going down. I'm sick of never being able to cross the line. I'm sick of pretending everything is fine. You got it, you're just a fucking freak like me. Burning inside, but I am alive. I'm not the one that you used to know. I've always hated to act like the others. I found my way to. Tears are fading, won't stop bleeding. Fears are fading. 'Cause I'm sick of standing up instead of going down. I'm sick of never being able to cross the line. I'm sick of pretending everything is fine. You got it, you're just a fucking freak like me. Cause I'm sick of standing up instead of going down. I'm sick of never being able to cross the line. I'm sick of pretending everything is fine. You got it, you're just a fucking freak like me. Fucking freak like me. Yeah. A fucking freak like me.
Another week, another Triple H backstage meeting this afternoon before Monday Night Raw. He gave one to the SmackDown roster on Friday, so today was the Raw roster's turn to get the same speech, and it was more of the same. The objective of the meeting is said to have been Triple H meeting with all of the wrestlers to assure them that he is still very much in charge of WWE Creative, and that Vince McMahon's only role, his sole role in being back in the company, is to help spearhead a potential sale of the company. But he wanted to put everyone's fears to rest, that he is in charge. And he is the one who is running WWE Creative. It almost sounds to me as if he's trying to convince himself. And while that may be true now, I don't know that that will necessarily be the case in the future. But that was what was said at the talent meeting earlier today. PW Insider, even before that meeting took place, PW Insider had a report up on their website earlier today that Brad Blum, who was basically Vince McMahon's chief of staff previously, has been spotted recently at WWE headquarters. So he appears to be back. He had previously left the company. They also mentioned that everything has been prepared for Vince McMahon's return. His office has been untouched since he left the company in July. I just imagine that there's just a layer of dust covering everything in the office. Every pen, every piece of paper on the desk, everything is left exactly where it was. And so he will be able, if he's not already, to return to the office and just pick up where he left off. But I know there were a lot of reports about how he's not back in the office and he's not coming into the office. If he's not already back, he will be shortly. And so that is the status of things in McMahon land over there in Stamford, Connecticut. There was a big playoff game on Monday Night Football tonight. That's going to take a bite out of the Raw number when the ratings do come in. We'll probably get the numbers on Wednesday. Today was a holiday. It was Martin Luther King Day. So we may not be getting any ratings tomorrow for those who are interested in that sort of thing. But there's a big NFL game tonight, and the best player on the Buccaneers was the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys. My brother's like, you got to watch this game. This guy's missed 2 kicks, and then he missed 3. And he goes, you're not going to believe it. He missed 4. So I don't know if he missed more than that, but last update I got is that the kicker for the Cowboys missed 4 field goals. in this game. He is very fortunate that his team won the game. That would have been really bad. It's going to be a bad night for him no matter what. You miss 4 field goals in a single game. That's got to suck. That's got to set some kind of record, right? Or tie a record, maybe. I would not want to be him tonight. We are less than 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble, and I have to tell you that it does not feel like we are less than 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. This has been one of the more disappointing builds to a Rumble. It just does not feel exciting. It just does not feel like the Royal Rumble is this close. But here we are. And the last several weeks of Raw have been, not good. I thought that tonight's show was an improvement. Tonight's show did not bore me the way that the past several weeks have. So to that end, I thought it was a better show. We had a couple of fun tag team matches. Actually, we had the main event was a 6-way elimination match to crown a #1 contender for the U.S. title held by Austin Theory. That match will take place next Monday night. It was Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Baron Corbin. I have to tell you, I believe they said every person in this match was a former U.S. champion. Is that correct? I believe that's what the announcer said. When was Baron Corbin the United States champion? Maybe I misheard, or maybe I just completely am blanking on this U.S. title run that Corbin had. I have no memory of this, but I believe that's what was said, is that everybody in the match was a former U.S. champion. But Bobby Lashley is the #1 contender for the U.S. title. He came out with the win tonight, as we have more teases dropped for a potential reunion of the Hurt Business here on this show. Cody Rhodes made it official. He is back at the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes, after all these many months away with the torn pec, undergoing rehab, training hard to get back in the ring, he will officially make his in-ring return at the Royal Rumble, which, if you've been listening to these reviews, I've been telling you that this is all going to build to him announcing his comeback at the Rumble. It wouldn't be left as a surprise. That last video package is going to have him making the announcement. That's what this has been building to. This was video number 3. And so we got the announcement tonight. He made it official. But tonight was about more than just the Royal Rumble. Tonight was about hype for next Monday night, which is kind of why, for WWE, it sucks if the football game takes a chunk out of the show, because they wanted to have as many people watching so they can hype up Raw 30. Next Monday night is their 30th anniversary Raw celebration. They're going to be in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, they did not take the show back to New York City, which I think would have been appropriate for the 30th anniversary. But then again, they didn't take WrestleMania back to New York for the 30th anniversary, right? We had the first WrestleMania in New York, the 10th WrestleMania in New York, 20th WrestleMania in New York, 30th WrestleMania was in New Orleans. So for the 30th Raw, they're going to Philadelphia. But that is next Monday. And on Raw 30 next week, there's going to be a Raw Tag Team title match. The Usos will be defending their championships against the Judgment Day. It will be Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio. But more interesting than that, and this may have been, I may be burying the lead here, because this was the most interesting announcement they made tonight, is that not only will the Bloodline be on Raw next week for this tag team title match that the Usos are having, but we are going to be getting an acknowledgement ceremony with all the members of the Bloodline for Roman Reigns, but all the generations of the Bloodline and that Samoan family dynasty will be represented next week. All of the remaining members, they're going to be there to pay homage and to acknowledge the tribal chief in what sounds to me like the first seed that might be planted for the eventual match between Roman Reigns and The Rock. That, to me, was the most interesting thing that they announced on this show tonight. This is your Monday Night Raw review for Monday, January 16, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Thank you so much for choosing me for your Raw coverage here tonight. I do hope that you will hit that subscribe button. If you have not already done so, I would very much appreciate that. Also, you can drop a super chat That's pretty cool if you do that. And I will be reading through your super chats live on the air tonight. And also like the video. If we can get to 400 likes, we will do Be the Booker later on at the end of the stream. So 400 is the goal for tonight. I also want to just let everybody know that tomorrow we are going to be doing the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw Watch Along. I got WWE beat. They're having their 30th anniversary show next Monday. I'm having mine tomorrow. The plan right now, we're going to go live tomorrow night, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is the plan. Normally would be a night off for me, but I know some people said that it would be better to do it in the evening, and so we will go live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We're going to be watching the very first episode of Raw from January 11th, 1993. I will have the Peacock time code for you. We'll hang out. Everybody is welcome. Channel members only in the live chat. We'll hang out for about an hour, and we'll have a grand old time. So that is tomorrow night right here on the YouTube channel. I expect to see you guys back here. Fuck NXT. Nobody cares about NXT. I expect you to be here tomorrow night. Now let's talk about this show tonight, because we had Bloodline representation on this show. We had the Usos and Solo Sikoa coming out to open the show. They made their way to the ring. Jey Uso said that next Monday, the 30th anniversary of Raw special, this is where he announced that every generation of the Bloodline will be represented for the acknowledgement ceremony for Roman Reigns, and that they will also be defending their Raw Tag Team titles against the Judgment Day. That brought out the Judgment Day: Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Dominik, Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley. Rhea said the only thing they need to acknowledge is that the Judgment Day runs Monday Night Raw. Balor said that they're running straight for the Bloodline. Balor also said that he wanted to take this moment to thank the ex-con Dom for stepping up for him when he got hurt last week in the Gauntlet, taking his place. The Judgment Day went on to win the Gauntlet, earn that number one contender spot. So he thanked the ex-con Dom. Priest said that next week, those nice red belts are coming permanently back to Monday Night Raw. Dominik smelled something. Said, I smell something. Said, it's fear. And Jey Uso pointed out that their 547-day run started with the Usos beating Dominik and his father, which is true. That is where it all began. They beat Rey and Dominik Mysterio to win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Dominik said that they would not last a minute in the cell with the prisoners that he was in the pokey with. He said that in the pen, they call an Uso a wannabe essay. And the biggest wannabe is that street champion standing in the back over there doing nothing. He was referring to Solo Sikoa, who stepped up to Dominik. Solo did not like hearing that. He got up in Dominik's face. Rhea Ripley then got up in Solo Sikoa's face. Dominik popped Solo in the face. He responded with a headbutt. They all started brawling. Solo and Rhea, they came back face to face, and Solo stuck his thumb out to tease the Samoan Spike. When all of a sudden he turned around, and here's Mustafa Ali jumping off the top rope, tackling Solo to the mat. They were scheduled to have a match on this show. And that was the kickoff for their match. But first, they went to commercial. I thought this was fine. I thought this was good. It's hard because when you have these face-offs where Rhea Ripley goes face-to-face with one of the men in the ring and they tease that the guy is going to do something. We've seen this countless times, right? We've seen this with AJ Styles. We've seen this tonight with Solo Sikoa. We've seen it with fucking Tozawa. The men can't touch her. They can't do anything to her. So you're not really expecting anything to happen. It doesn't go anywhere. They just sort of stand there and nothing happens. But again, the most interesting development is the acknowledgement ceremony next week. Let's expand on this a little bit. They're going to be bringing in every generation of the Bloodline. So you would have to think that next Monday we are going to see Rikishi, who of course is the father of the Usos and Solo Sikoa. Why would he not be there? Rikishi will be there, I'm sure. I would have to think Afa and Sika will be there. Sika being the father of Roman Reigns, right? They're part of the Bloodline. I suspect we're not going to see Jacob Fatu on the show next Monday night. I would not count on seeing that. Most of the other members are dead. Yokozuna is gone. Jamal and Rosie are gone, unfortunately. But then there is The Rock, who is part of that whole Samoan family tree, right? We have The Rock. And if you think about it, it would be appropriate for The Rock to make an appearance because The Rock was part of the fabric of that show. You're talking about 30 years of Monday Night Raw. Rock was part of some of the best years of this show, right? Rock and Stone Cold. How are you going to celebrate 30 years of Raw without having Austin and The Rock? Now, Austin, I can see being a surprise. The glass shatters, he comes out, everybody loses their minds. I still feel like Austin is going to be a surprise in the Royal Rumble match. That's the only reason I wouldn't see Stone Cold on the show next week. If Austin is not making a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble, then there's no reason for him not to be on Raw 30 next week. If he is going to be in the Royal Rumble, I threw that out there as one of my predictions on New Year's Day when I did the prediction show. Then I totally understand holding him back and not having him on the show next Monday. But otherwise, how are you going to have a 30th anniversary commemoration for Monday Night Raw and not have the face of Monday Night Raw? I said this when I did my list on the podcast this weekend of the top 30 moments of, and by the way, I hope you guys will check that out if you haven't already, and drop me some feedback. I worked my ass off on that, and I had a lot of fun putting that together. But Austin, when you think of the greatest moments in Monday Night Raw history, on my list alone, he was on the list 6 times, more than anybody else. And that doesn't even cover all the great Austin moments in the history of Raw. So it would be very surprising for him not to be part of the show in some way, unless he's going to be saved as a surprise for the Royal Rumble. As far as The Rock is concerned, do I expect The Rock to be there next week? I don't. And the reason I don't is because the way that I see this playing out, if they got The Rock, okay, for WrestleMania, we still don't know if The Rock is in or if The Rock is out. All I know is that today is January 16th. And we heard a good month and a half ago that Triple H and WWE were going to need an answer from The Rock no later than mid-January because they need to lock in their WrestleMania plans. So if that is the case, then they probably have their answer by now. They know already whether or not Rock is a yay or an A for WrestleMania. This is right around the time they were hoping to have an answer. And now they announced this segment out of nowhere, an acknowledgement segment with all the generations represented of the Bloodline. It seems a little too coincidental to me unless they don't have Rock locked down for something at WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. If that is the case, Rock does not have to be on the show next Monday. In fact, the way that I would see it playing out is that you have the current Bloodline members there. You have some of the other Bloodline members there. Rock doesn't show up. Or at least not live and in person. He doesn't show up. He could send a video in, I guess, but he doesn't show up in person to acknowledge the tribal chief, and Roman Reigns feels disrespected by this. And in fact, maybe Roman Reigns even trashes The Rock and has some crosswords for The Rock. There you have the fuel, right? The fuel to power this program between these two of them. If Roman Reigns goes off on The Rock, now he's got a reason to do so. Well, now The Rock has a reason to come right back, whether he's in the Rumble or, he just shows up on an episode of Raw to confront him. But I think that's what's going on here. Otherwise, I'm not really sure what the purpose of the segment is. This segment feels like, whether Rock is there live or not, that it's tailor-made to start something between them. So, is Rock going to be on the show next week? I don't know. I'm going to say no. But I do think that this is being done for a very particular reason. It seems like they may have The Rock for WrestleMania. But they have to have their answer. They have to lock down the main events. They have to lock down the advertising and the marketing for the show. It's not that far away. WrestleMania really is not that far away. So I'm sure Triple H, Nick Khan, and all of them, they already know whether or not they have Rock in their back pocket. Now, as far as this match here with Solo and Mr. Ali, they joined it in progress. The Usos were initially not at ringside with Solo Sikoa. Sikoa grabbed Ali when he was on the apron. He ran him into the ring post. Jimmy and Jay, they showed up at that point. They hopped the barricade, hopped up onto the ring apron. Kevin Owens made his entrance at that point. Last time we saw Kevin Owens, he was laid out by the Bloodline on Friday. They beat him down. So he was here to gain a measure of revenge. Owens roughed up both Usos on the outside. Ali caught a distracted solo Sikoa with a tornado DDT for a near fall. Sikoa avoided a 450 splash. Ali rolled through, but Sikoa got him with the Samoan spike, and he pinned him. After the match, Owens rolled in. Immediately when the match ended, Owens rolled into the ring. He gave Solo Sikoa a stunner. Owens took Solo out to the floor, placed him across the announce table. He was going to set up to do the exact same thing to Solo that Solo did to him on Friday when he did the running dive off the barricade through the announce table. As he was setting up for it, though, the Usos, they attacked Owens. Owens grabbed a chair. He threw a chair at one of them. And that brought out Adam Pearce and a whole host of different officials to stop Owens while the Usos and Sikoa headed to the back. Nothing that is going to convince anybody. I don't think that Kevin Owens has any more of a shot than anybody else has had over the last 2+ years of beating Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, but he had to get his heat back. He had to have a comeback after the beatdown that took place on Friday. That's what this was. And I like how they continue to keep Solo Sikoa strong. They keep him every week that goes by on Raw and on SmackDown. He's silent but deadly, right? He doesn't speak. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't join in on the comedy when there's some comedy relief with Sami Zayn. He's the straight man. He stands there. He's the silent ass kicker of the group. And I think that's why he has gotten over the way that he has. He's done very well so far, on the main roster. Bobby Lashley was in the back delivering a promo. He said that the 6-way elimination match meant that 5 people would be tapping out to the Hurt Lock. Lashley said that Austin Theory's title reign comes with an expiration date, and that date would be next Monday on Raw 30. We got the latest Cody Rhodes video. This was video number 3. Likely the final video, I assume. This one ran down his rehab from the torn pec. Doctors told him it's going to be 9 months to recover. They said Cody is in amazing shape. He's an amazing athlete, but he's also no different than anybody else as far as having to allow his body to heal. Mother Nature is what she is, and it could take up to 9 months for him to recover. Obviously, Cody's goal was to come back a lot sooner. They showed he has a scar now, up, by his shoulder. He said that when he came back last year, he made his intentions clear. And then he officially announced himself for the Royal Rumble match. So exactly as I expected, I said these videos are going to culminate with Cody announcing that he is coming back at the Royal Rumble. There have been reports of him training lately with Carmelo Hayes and Joe Gacy at the Performance Center to try to, get back in ring shape and get his cardio up, I guess. So he handpicked them. He handpicked Carmelo Hayes and Joe Gacy to work out with him to help him get back in shape for the Rumble. And, I'm sure some people are going to be of the belief that this should have been a surprise. This should have been a surprise. I wish they wouldn't have given it away. This was never going to be a surprise. I said this last week. What surprise? The moment that Cody tore his pec and worked that match with Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble, and we knew that Cody was going to be gone, and we knew that Cody was going to be having surgery, everybody said, Royal Rumble. See you at the Rumble. Cody's going to win the Rumble. Cody's going to be back at the Rumble. Everybody said that. And on top of that, the moment they started airing these videos, the element of surprise was gone anyway. So no, I have no issue with them announcing it in advance because this was never going to be much of a surprise regardless. A surprise is someone who shows up that you're not expecting to be there. Everybody was expecting Cody Rhodes to be in the Royal Rumble. So no, I have no issue with the way they did this. And we'll have to see again. A lot of this is going to depend. To go back to what I was just talking about The Rock. A lot of this is going to depend on whether or not they have The Rock. If The Rock is in the Royal Rumble, The Rock wins the Royal Rumble. They are not going to have Rock as a Royal Rumble surprise and then have him lose. Be eliminated by who? If Rock comes back, he's wrestling Roman. Unless Roman is going to do a run-in in the Rumble match and eliminate The Rock is, if he's in the Rumble, he's going to win. If The Rock is not in the Rumble, then Cody Rhodes should win the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes should win the Royal Rumble regardless, but if Rock is not in there, then Cody is going to win. And the way that I would do it and the way that I see it, you do Cody and you have Seth as number 1 and number 2. And then they're the final 2 in there at the very end. It starts with Cody and Seth, and it comes down to the end to Cody and Seth. And they can wrap up their issue, because there's still lingering issues with these two. Even though they already wrestled 3 times, the last time we saw Cody Rhodes, he was laid out with a sledgehammer on Raw by who? Seth Rollins. Now, Seth is a babyface, right? Things have changed. Seth is over. People like him, but they also like Cody, which would make the dynamic very interesting in the Rumble match, because who would be cheered more? I think it would be a mixed reaction. I think it would be 50-50. But then once Cody wins, got 2 baby faces, right? They can put their issues to rest. They could even share a handshake at the very end. That ends their issue. You put some closure on it, right? You put a nice little bow on that, and then you move on. But I will say this. I would not sleep on Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Seth Rollins has no chance of winning the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins actually has a very good chance of winning the Royal Rumble. It's not the outcome that I would go with. But, we had Seth on Twitter the other day saying, man, I feel like main eventing WrestleMania this year. Seth is over as a babyface. Seth and Roman have a history together. In fact, Seth, I think, is the only person that Roman Reigns has wrestled during this run that he is on that Roman has not just straight up pinned and beaten, or has, put in a chokehold and, put him out like he did with Goldberg. He has not been able to beat Seth Rollins. And I think that if you did Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins or WrestleMania with Rollins finally, beating him and taking the championship, I think a lot of people would probably be happy with that. And I think Roman and Seth in a main event of WrestleMania would have a kick-ass match. Could I see that happening if The Rock is not in? Yes, I could. But I still think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. You can't go wrong with either one of those, but I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. I think it should be Cody. Byron Saxton was standing outside of Adam Pearce's office. He said that it's been a revolving door of wrestlers trying to make their case for being in the Royal Rumble match this year. Saxton introduced us to Elias. Oh boy, yes, I can't wait for Elias to be in the Royal Rumble match. I'm sure he has just as good of a chance as Virgil did back in 1992. Or Bushwhacker Luke. Bushwhacker Luke, by the way, is it Luke or Butch? I think Luke is the one who has been petitioning for a spot in the 2023 Royal Rumble. I guess he wants to make amends for his quick elimination back in 90 or 91. I think it was 91. So he's been lobbying for a spot in the Royal Rumble match. Hopefully Triple H will not take the bait. I don't want to see a Royal Rumble spot wasted on Bushwhacker Luke. Okay? Yeah, there. Okay, good. Let's not waste the spot, please. So Elias showed up, and he said that 2022 was a roller coaster of a year. He saw his brother's career explode and then fizzle out. He said it's time to right some wrongs, and when he gets into the Rumble, the Vengeance Tour begins. MVP exited Adam Pearce's office. What were they talking about? We don't know. He told Elias not to bother Adam about entering the Rumble because the winner is a done deal. And Elias assumed that he was referring to himself. He thought MVP was talking about himself when he said that. And he said that you haven't been relevant in years. MVP said that he would get Elias a match tonight with the winner of the 2023 Royal Rumble. And Elias accepted and said that in the music business, we call this a tune-up. And I think anybody in their right mind could see that this was not MVP referring to himself. Clearly, he was referring to Omos. The only one who didn't realize that is Elias because he's a fucking moron. But more on that later. See? More on that later. Anyway. We had the Street Profits against Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. They were in Cincinnati tonight, which is Dawkins' hometown. He was wearing some Cincinnati Bengals gear. MVP in the middle of the match walked out to the ring. Kevin Patrick questioned why MVP was there. Corey Graves told him to just relax. It's just business. And they cut to commercial. Coming out of the commercial, we had Montez Ford. He hit a frog splash, had the match won. Cedric broke up the pin. Angelo Dawkins put Benjamin on his shoulders while Ford went to the top rope. Alexander clipped Dawkins' knee. Benjamin then ran up the ropes. He tossed Ford overhead to the mat, covered him. Angelo, though, broke up the pin. Later on, Dawkins went for a corner splash. MVP, he looked like he was legitimately late in pulling Cedric Alexander out of the way because he got squashed anyway. So I think he botched the timing on that. MVP then distracted the referee. Shelton Benjamin, meanwhile, tossed Angelo Dawkins to Cedric Alexander. He basically threw Dawkins into a knee strike from Cedric Alexander. And Alexander went for the pin. And I thought, wow, these two are actually going to win a match. And then I thought, well, silly me. Because before he could win the match, Dawkins reversed it. And he got the 3 count to win it for the Street Profits. Let me tell you something. There is nobody, no fan. Look, I'm looking forward to the Hurt Business reunion, which clearly is coming. Nobody is looking more forward to a Hurt Business reunion than Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Because they've just got to be like, please give us something. Give us something. Because all they do, they keep losing and losing and losing. Nobody is begging for a reunion more than those two. All they have to do is hold on just a little bit longer. It's coming. Just hold on a little bit longer. Kathy Kelly was backstage. Yes, Snow Dog says that Shelton is tired of catering. He's tired of sitting and, look, you can only have the oatmeal raisin cookies so many times before you just get sick of it. You got the slabs of turkey. You've got the oatmeal raisin cookies. You've got some kind of weird fruit. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of sitting there. Nobody likes it. Nobody touches it. I mean, he's tired of sitting and catering, and then when he does go out to the ring, he just loses all the time. So, yeah, Shelton is more than ready for the Hurt Business to be back together. But we go back to Kathy Kelly, who is with the Judgment Day. She asked Finn Balor about the main event tonight. Chad Gable and Otis showed up. They took issue with the Judgment Day, claiming they ran through the tag team division last week. Gable said that they had a shot at redemption tonight because they were scheduled for a match against Priest and Dominik. Rhea told Gable not to make her do something that she wouldn't regret. And Dominik said that he had been pumping iron in the yard all day, and even he couldn't hold back his mommy. Man, let me tell you, they really missed the boat by not doing some Dominik skits of him. I know the whole comedy of it is that he spent 2 hours in like a fucking county jail, but I feel like there was a missed opportunity here. Like they did with the Mountie back in 91 when he had the jailhouse match with the Boss Man and then they followed him to the precinct. I think there was a big missed opportunity here by not doing some jailhouse skits with Dominik Mysterio. But then I guess that would ruin the whole joke, right? So Gable said that Dominik needed to work on having a strong body and a strong mind. And he suggested him to sign up for an Alpha Academy course. Priest told them to take a walk or they would not be able to make it to the ring for their match later tonight. And that was the end of that segment. Corey Graves, after a commercial, was pushing this year's WrestleMania. They're in Los Angeles. It's WrestleMania back in Hollywood again for the first time in a long time. And they threw it to some classic footage of the old Taxi Driver skit, when they did WrestleMania 21 in LA back in 2005, they did those great skits reenacting scenes from famous movies with some of the wrestlers. And so they showed highlights of the Taxi Driver skit for WrestleMania 21 that had Batista and Big Show, Shawn Michaels, Shelton Benjamin, Rey Mysterio, Tajiri, Michael Cole. So they showed some highlights of that. And then Graves said, tune into social media, WWE social media, to relive these segments with all of these legends. There was no indication from him that they're planning on doing new ones with the current wrestlers. And that is a huge missed opportunity if they don't do that, because that was some of the best promotion. Honestly, maybe the best promotion that I have seen for any of the WrestleManias. Those skits were fantastic. The Dirty Harry skit with The Undertaker, the Pulp Fiction skit with Eddie Guerrero and Booker T, When Harry Met Sally with Kurt Angle and, Christy Hemme. Yeah, the Basic Instinct skit, we'll never see that one again for obvious reasons. That maybe was the best one of the bunch. With Jericho and Christian and Stacy Keibler and He Who Shall Not Be Named. So those were great. Those were fantastic, right? Triple H and Braveheart. What a missed opportunity if they don't take the chance to, not the same movies, obviously, they can reenact different movies, but to do something similar with the current roster. So just because he didn't say that they're not doing it doesn't mean they won't, but I hope they do. And they're not just going to re-air some of the old ones. Because that would be, look, there's just a skit waiting to happen with Rhea and Dominik. I don't know what movie it would be, but there's an idea there. I haven't fleshed it out yet. What a waste if they don't do something. Yeah, they got all these Marvel movies. Ever since 2005, think of how many Marvel and superhero movies have come out. But it doesn't have to be a reenactment of just superhero movie. It could be anything. It could be comedies. It could be superhero movies. It could be horror movies. By the way, I mentioned Batista, right? Because Batista was in that Taxi Driver skit for WrestleMania 21. And they had a commercial tonight for his new movie that's coming out called Knock at the Cabin. I saw the full trailer for it, and it actually looks really interesting. The thing is, though, it's M. Night Shyamalan. Ugh. M. Night Shyamalan is very hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get when it comes to M. Night Shyamalan movies. I wanted to see, he came out with that movie Old. It's like a couple of years ago now, maybe a year and a half ago. It was about people who visit or take a vacation to some beach somewhere, and then they start aging rapidly. I wanted to see it. I didn't. I don't know if it's any good. You guys can let me know if you've seen it. But I think that's the premise of the movie, is that they go to this beach and then they realize that they're aging rapidly. It's like me watching this show every Monday night. Becky Lynch was out next. Old sucked. Well, there it is. I know getting old sucks. I just want to know if the movie Old is any good. According to you guys, it is not. I can't say that I'm surprised. I don't know. Ever since The Village, M. Night Shyamalan, I felt betrayed when I saw that movie. I was like, you know what? Fuck this guy. But I thought, enough time has gone by since The Village. Maybe I could give him another chance. I don't know. I don't like what I'm seeing here in the chat. Becky Lynch was out next, making her way through the crowd like she's Jon Moxley, slapping hands with the fans on her way to the ring. She was here, she said, to call out Bayley, who came out with the other members of Damage Control. Bayley had on a 49ers jersey. She said that her name was Bayley and not Karen. Becky said that someone needs to explain to Bayley what a Karen is. She called Bayley an entitled idiot with a crappy haircut. Becky said that Bayley peaked in 2015, and Bayley said that, all right, so 2015, she says that was the year that she ran NXT. And it's also the year that all the other horsewomen ran away. They ran off to the main roster and they left her behind, which is true. Charlotte got called up, Sasha Banks got called up, and Becky Lynch all got called up, and Bayley was the one who was left behind. And so Bayley accused Becky of basically taking her spot on the main roster. Becky said that look, I was never supposed to be the man. I was never supposed to be the first woman to ever win the main event of WrestleMania. She said that she worked harder than anybody else to achieve that. She said that she knows Bayley loves this business, but Bayley whines and moans whenever she's not the focus. Bayley said the only reason that Becky became the man is because she was punched in the face by another woman. Becky said that she could punch Bayley in the face right now. And Dakota Kai and Io Sky, they stepped forward. And Becky asked Bayley if she was going to hide behind her cronies. Bayley stepped forward. Becky asked if she would have a problem facing her next week in a one-on-one match. And Bayley said, no problem. And Becky said, well, let's raise the stakes. How about a steel cage match next week? And at first, Bayley hesitated, and then she thought about it a little bit more, and she said, I accept. So that's good for Becky, because as we all know, whenever there's a steel cage, nobody can get in. Nobody ever interferes in a steel cage match. So she's got her cage match officially for next week. They were all over the place here in this promo. 2015, again, when all the horsewomen except Bayley got called up, that was a valid point that Bayley made during that promo. And Becky getting what Bayley claimed was her spot in, I assume she means the WrestleMania triple threat in 2016, which had Charlotte and Sasha and Becky, but no Bayley. Bayley was conspicuous by her absence. Bayley did not hit the main roster until much later on. I think it was later on that year. She finally came up. And even when she initially came up, I think she was Sasha's mystery tag team partner, if I remember, in the opening match on one of the pay-per-views against Charlotte and Dana Brooke. But I don't think that was Bayley's official call-up. I think that was like a one-shot, and then it was a while after that until Mick Foley finally, he was the GM at the time, and then he officially introduced Bayley as a member of the Raw roster. So whatever the reason was, Bayley was the one who kind of got left behind there. And I like the fact that she brought that up. It kind of makes it more personal that way. It's a valid point. It's not just made up bullshit. It's true. So the idea that this has been eating away at her for all these years, and she blames Becky for, taking her spot. I do like the fact that they're at least drawing on history, because you can see how she would have felt like her friends had abandoned her and her friends had left her behind. So I like how they kind of looped it back to their history. Dolph Ziggler was shown warming up in his locker room for the main event, and Ali showed up. Ali's always complaining about something on this show. And Ali said that once again, he was taking issue with Dolph costing him the United States Championship all those many weeks ago. And then he took issue with Dolph not teaming with him, refusing to team with him last week in the tag team gauntlet. Ali said, boy, it must be good to be Dolph, who gets opportunity after opportunity handed to him. Ali clearly does not watch this show much. Ziggler said that nobody gets handed anything. Ali punched Ziggler, and then he asked him if he had his attention. Two losers. These two deserve each other. Elias was in the ring coming out of the break. MVP came out dressed in a suit and said that Elias would be facing the winner of the 2023 Royal Rumble, but he never said that that person was going to be him. And then he introduced Elias to his opponent, which of course turned out, to the surprise of no one except Elias, to be Omos. We have not seen Omos on this show in a while. I was kind of happy about that, but here he was. The Loch Ness Monster, lured out of the water. He was back here tonight. Elias got the better of Omos for a period of time. Outside the ring, MVP held up his cane, so Elias grabbed his guitar. We had a little standoff with weapons here. Omos stopped Elias from using the guitar. He headbutted him, and then he smashed the guitar into a million pieces on the ground. Omos returned to the ring. He got caught with a couple of, actually 3 jumping knee strikes by Elias that did ultimately take the big man down to 1 knee. And then Elias decided to do something that we normally don't see him do, because again, he's a dumb babyface. He decided to go up to the top rope. So, of course, he got caught by the throat, and Omos had him by the throat, took him off the top rope, gave him a tree slam, and then pinned him to win the match. So Omos is officially in the Royal Rumble match. Now, I want you to keep that in mind as I tell you here about this next segment that immediately followed this. Byron Saxton was in the back. He interviewed Adam Pearce. And Byron wanted to know what he has in store for Raw 30 next week. And Pearce said that it's going to be an unforgettable night next Monday. Akira Tozawa showed up, but he asked Adam Pearce for a spot in the Royal Rumble match. And Adam Pearce proceeded to inform Akira Tozawa, we don't just give spots away in the Royal Rumble. You've got to earn it. You've got to earn your way into the Royal Rumble match. He said this with a straight face immediately after a segment involving a man who we have not seen on television in I don't even know how many weeks, who was just thrust into the Royal Rumble match. And on the same show, on the same night, when Cody Rhodes in a video package announced himself for the Royal Rumble match. A man who has not wrestled a match in 6 months. He tells Tozawa, we don't hand out spots in the Royal Rumble match. You've got to earn your way in. So Tozawa did not call Pearce out on this hypocrisy. Instead, he asked for a match, and Pearce said that, look, I can't make any guarantees. I'll give you a match. And if you win tonight, that could go a long way as far as convincing me that you belong in the Royal Rumble. We had Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio up next, the #1 contenders for the Raw Tag Team titles, taking on Otis and Chad Gable for the 2nd straight week. Otis was over. It wasn't an isolated incident when they were at whatever city that was. The last time, was it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago? Otis was over and the people were really into him. And they were into him again here on this show. He tagged into the match. They were cheering for him in front of a crowd, honestly, that wasn't making a lot of noise on this show. They were making noise for Otis. I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden, Otis is over yet again. Shout out to Red Panda, who just became a sound-off superstar. And also, I should also thank Dr. Dakota Scorpio, who gifted a channel membership, I think right at the beginning of the stream, actually, as I was going live tonight. So I do want to acknowledge him. You are acknowledged, and TCB is also a new channel member. So shout out to Red Panda and TCB. Showing me some TLC here on this stream tonight. I love it. Queen Fire Panda is very upset in the chat that there is now another panda. Hey, maybe we can get Red Panda and Queen Fire Panda together, and they can make little panda babies together. Maybe I can play matchmaker. So anyway, Otis tagged into the match. He then did a terrible version of the caterpillar. And when he got up, if you know how he does the caterpillar, when he does the slinky motion, and then he gets up and he drops the big elbow. He went to get up, but his weight was carrying him forward, so he kind of fell on top of, I think it might have been Dominik. He fell, whoever it was, he fell on top of them. Gable suplexed Dominik on the floor. So I guess it would have been Priest. Priest caught Otis, who was up on the middle rope. He caught him, goozled him, and then gave him a choke slam. Gable returned to the ring. He hit Priest with the Chaos Theory rolling German, which looked awesome. It reminded me of the one that he gave Baron Corbin all those years ago in NXT when they had the first Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I don't know if it was a first round match or it might have been a semifinal match. Corbin's a bigger guy, and the sight of him giving him that delayed rolling German is just, it's fucking great. That's what this reminded me of. And he got a great reaction too. Dominik rolled up Gable, who countered out of that into an ankle lock. Rhea Ripley distracted the referee, and Damian Priest hit his South of Heaven chokeslam on Chad Gable, which led to Dominik scoring the pin for the Judgment Day. Yes, it is pandemonium. I love it. It's pandemonium in the chat. Look at this. Who is that, Michael? You know, the Pandas may have beaten Vince McMahon all those many years ago. But we got some panda love here in this chat. Are there panda emojis? I'm not even sure if there's a panda emoji, but if there are, we should see him in the chat. It's funny, you know, Alpha Academy came out for this match, and they got a pretty flat reaction. But what happens is, and we've seen this now a couple of times, they win the crowd over with their work in the ring, and it seems like of late the people really don't want to boo these guys. They don't want to jeer them. So this feels like a babyface turn in the works. If not, I would say that it should be. I like Otis, but Chad Gable is so good. Chad Gable is so good. He is criminally underrated. I do like the fact that he's been getting more television time here during the Triple H era. I wouldn't say his standing in the pecking order is any better, but he is at least getting television exposure every week, and now the fans are starting to get behind, you know, the two of them. I say ride that wave. I think a babyface turn is probably overdue. Oh my goodness, look at all of these panda emoji. What have I started here? We're only about 15 likes away from our likes goal. You guys are about to smash through it, so let's do it. Let's hit the gas. Let's hit the gas and drive right through. Mia Yim and Io Sky. As lively as the crowd was for Otis and Chad Gable, I can't say the same here for this match. The crowd was ice cold. Ice cold for this match. Mia set up for Eat Defeat. She was distracted, though, by Dakota Kai on the apron. Candice LeRae, who had accompanied Mia to the ring to be in her corner, pulled Dakota to the floor. Mia Yim hit Eat Defeat on Io and pinned her. Pinned one half of the women's tag team champions. After the match, Dakota attacked Mia. Candice ran in, hit Kai with the code breaker. So it looks like we have new challengers, most likely, I would guess, for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Looks like they're setting these two up to be the number one contenders. But absolutely nobody cared about any of this. It was actually really sad. It was very sad to see. Nobody cared about any of these women. Bianca Belair was out next, the Raw Women's Champion. She came to the ring for a promo. She said that it's only been a couple of weeks that she's missed, but she has missed everybody so much. She talked about getting her face busted on the steel steps by Alexa Bliss. And if you remember, she had suffered a cut by her chin. She needed stitches. She called out Alexa. Out comes Alexa Bliss. And Alexa said that Bianca fears her because she doesn't know what to expect from her. She says nobody does. And Bianca cut her off when she started talking about the Royal Rumble match. And she said, you really want to go in there and try to defeat 29 other women to try to get a shot at this championship? I got a better idea. How about I just give you a match at the Royal Rumble for the Raw Women's Championship? And Alexa wanted to know what the catch was. Bianca said that you're the one who wanted to be in control. So the choice is yours. And Alexa thought about it. And Alexa told her, I'll see you at the Royal Rumble. And Bianca got out of the ring and she said, you can see me tonight too. And the two of them went after each other. Bianca threw her into the barricade, and then she threw Alexa into the ring apron. Alexa tried to throw her into the steps again, but Bianca blocked it. And Bianca charged at Alexa at one point, who was standing over by the barricade. And Alexa kind of ducked it. And Bianca went over the barricade into the crowd, so we couldn't see her. And we got a tight camera shot of Alexa, so that when Alexa stood up, they did the deal where Bianca was behind the barricade and she slowly rose up. And Alexa didn't see her, but she grabbed Alexa. She brought her into the crowd. So she starts beating up Alexa Bliss in the crowd. She grabbed two chairs that happened to be up against the wall. She opened them both up right next to each other. and she got Alexa Bliss on her shoulders. So she was going to give Alexa Bliss the KOD onto the open chairs. All of a sudden, we are looking at Bianca Belair, and she looks like she has seen a ghost. And the camera turns, and in the tunnel, we see the blue and the white light that we see when the doorway opens for Bray Wyatt's entrance on SmackDown. We see the light, and then far off in the light, we see a shadowy figure. We see a figure that looks like the fucking leprechaun. It is Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy, when we see him off in the distance like that with the top hat and everything, he looks like the fucking leprechaun from the Leprechaun movie. That's what this looked like. So Bianca was spooked by the leprechaun. Alexa slipped free. She gave Bianca a DDT on the concrete. And that was it. In the background, we could see Uncle Howdy. He was doing all of his Uncle Howdy moves. I don't know what it is. He's just kind of dancing around like this, right? I don't know what it is. That's my Uncle Howdy impression. This is Uncle Howdy. He's sort of just standing there doing this. And Alexa just kind of slowly backed away. This is so goofy. This is so fucking goofy. Oh my God. I don't know. If this is how Bianca Belair's reign ends after almost a full year as the Raw Women's Champion, after all this time, this is how it ends when you're this close to WrestleMania and a potential match with Rhea Ripley. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what to say. And I'll leave it at that. Bronson Reed. Now, here's a part of the show that I liked. Bronson Reed made his in-ring Raw debut here tonight. We have yet to see him in the ring. We saw him save The Miz all those many weeks ago when Miz had that ladder match with Dexter Lumis. And then he made it very clear on the show recently that he is not Miz's friend. He is not Miz's partner. He is not Miz's bodyguard. He says that you want my help, you pay me. He's a hired gun. Bronson Reed is his own man. Came out by himself for a match with Akira Tozawa. Tozawa wanted a match, right? So Adam Pearce gave him a match. He gave him a match against Bronson Reed. And I thought this was a great showcase for the big guy. I think this was great. Reed dominated early on. Tozawa caught him with an enziguri to the back of the head, took him down with a Hurricane Rana. And Reed rolled out to the floor. Tozawa hit a suicide dive. Tozawa then got up on the apron, and he did a cannonball at Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed then caught him, got him up in a powerbomb position, and he powerbombed. He threw him. He launched him. Powerbombed into the barricade, the top part of the barricade by the timekeeper's area. I shrieked. If you saw this, I shrieked when I saw it. It looked brutal. You know, I don't like the idea of doing that to begin with. It just reminds me of the buckle bomb that Rollins gave to Balor at SummerSlam when Balor tore his shoulder up. But man, it looked great. It looked devastating. Reed then went up on the apron and he wiped out Tozawa with a running shoulder tackle to the floor. And Tozawa took a great bump off that shoulder tackle. Back in the ring, Reed finished him off with his tsunami splash off the rope. And we see people do top rope splashes all the time, right? We've seen big guys go up and do splashes. The thing I love about Bronson Reed, going back to his NXT days, I used to talk about this in the NXT reviews. And even when he came to House of Glory, and I got to call one of his matches, and we all in unison did the whole tsunami splash call. And being able to see him in person like that, he's a big fucking guy. When he comes off the top rope, he comes down with all of his weight. It looks great. It looks like a genuinely devastating maneuver. And the people were reacting to a lot of the big spots here. So kudos to him, but also kudos to Tozawa, because Tozawa was bumping his ass off for this guy. He did his job well. I don't know how much he had to sell, frankly, because he was getting wrecked on some of these fucking moves, but he was bumping his ass off. And I thought, as far as squashes go, debut squashes, this is one of the reasons why we need more squashes. I'm not saying fill the show with them. I'm saying when you have somebody like Bronson Reed who's making his debut, you need to be able to put him out there with somebody who can bump for all of his big moves. You establish what his maneuvers are, including his finish. Like, this was a classic squash that you would see if this guy had debuted, 30 years ago. This was great. Made him look like a monster. We need more of this. The main event was a six-pack challenge. Elimination match to determine a number one contender for the United States Championship next Monday. Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Baron Corbin. All part of the six-way match. 10 seconds into this big main event, they cut to commercial. Miz threw his Miz kicks at Dolph when Balor rolled him up. Miz then threw the kicks at Balor, who was selling his injured ribs from last week in the gauntlet. Miz put Ziggler in a figure four leg lock. Ziggler reversed the hold, put all the pressure on Miz. Meanwhile, Rollins hit Miz with a curb stomp and pinned him, so The Miz, understandably, was the first one eliminated here from this match. Rollins and Ziggler took turns beating up Corbin, and then they squared off. They ran past one another to take turns, going after Corbin in one corner, Balor in the opposite corner. Ziggler rolled up. Rollins hit he rolled up Corbin. Rollins hit a suicide dive onto Lashley and Corbin. Balor then did a flip dive onto the three men on the floor. Ziggler said, why not? He went up top. He hit a big high cross body, dove out onto Corbin and Balor. All five men were down at ringside. Ziggler rolled Corbin back inside. Ziggler then escaped a powerbomb attempt, and he super kicked Corbin. Ziggler caught Balor with a super kick as Balor was coming off the top rope. Rollins then surprised Ziggler with a pedigree and then pinned him. So The Miz is out first. Dolph Ziggler is the next one eliminated. We were already 15 minutes into this match. Bobby Lashley, he set up for the Hurt Lock when out comes Omos and MVP. And this distracts Lashley as he sees them coming down to the ring. He's like, what are you guys doing here? Baron Corbin used the distraction to clothesline Lashley. Balor took out Corbin, caught Lashley with a shotgun dropkick in the corner, and Balor made the climb up top, came off the top, hit the coup de grace. Rollins, though, surprised Balor with a stomp and pinned Finn Balor. So he was the third elimination in this match. Miz is gone. Ziggler is gone. Balor is gone. We were down to the final three: Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, and Baron Corbin, who had JBL outside in his corner. Corbin pulled Rollins out to the floor. Rollins, though, took him out. He went to go climb back inside, but Omos grabbed him and threw Rollins over the announce desk. And keep in mind that Austin Theory was ringside doing commentary for this match. So Omos tosses Rollins clear over the announce desk into the barricade, into the announcer chairs. Corbin returned to the ring, and he ate a spear from Lashley. Lashley pinned him. Theory then took a cheap shot at Bobby Lashley and hit him with the U.S. title. And he was standing out there. He was gloating, looking at Omos. Omos was looking at MVP. And Theory is celebrating this great achievement. He said, give me a high five. Omos decided to grab him by the throat. Theory was trying to scramble away. He was climbing over the announce desk, right? Omos would not let go of his throat. So now Omos is basically like hanging across the announce desk, trying to still hold on to Theory. Doesn't realize that Seth Rollins has recovered. And Rollins is on top of the announce desk. He comes in and delivers a curb stomp to Omos on the announce desk, which temporarily saves Austin Theory. It gives him a reprieve, but only briefly, because Rollins then dives off the desk onto Theory, tackles Theory, and starts beating him up. Rollins then returns to the ring. He sets up for a move on Lashley. MVP climbs up on the apron, and Rollins gives him a super kick. Rollins hits the ropes. He comes off, and he gets speared by Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley covers Seth Rollins, and Bobby Lashley gets the pin. He wins the six-way match to become number one contender. I thought it was a fun match. I thought it was good to see Lashley go over. I was surprised. I thought Rollins was going to come out of this with the win. So it was surprising, but in a good way. I'm glad again, Lashley is still out there as the Destroyer. It does sound like he's going heel. PW Insider, yeah, I mentioned this about a week ago. Mike Johnson had a report that he was hearing that the plan for Lashley is a full-blown heel turn. And I said I disagree with that because Lashley right now, yeah, you could say he's more babyface than heel, but it's almost like a tweener, kind of. I think that works for him. Johnson had another report today reiterating the same thing. He said 100% WWE is moving forward with a Bobby Lashley heel turn. So keep that in mind with whatever they end up doing on TV next week. If they're reuniting the Hurt Business, obviously there'll be a heel faction. So I guess they want Lashley to be a full heel. But the people cheered. The people like Seth. But it's not like when Seth got pinned, the boos rained down upon Bobby Lashley. The people like Lashley also. So Lashley now is the number one contender, and we'll see. On Raw 30 next week, it's a big episode of Raw. That would be as good a place as any if they were going to do a Hurt Business reunion. I think it happens next week. So let's talk about Raw 30 briefly. The lineup, what they have on tap. They are advertising, these are the legends that are being advertised for Raw 30 next week. Shawn Michaels, so it's good to see Chad Frost making an appearance on TV next week. The Undertaker. Michaels and Undertaker, they are the only two men who were on that original episode of Raw who will be on the 30th anniversary show next week. So Undertaker will be there. Ric Flair will be there. Flair was not on the first episode of Raw, but he was on the second and third episode. And then he lost to Mr. Perfect in the Loser Leaves Town match, and that was the end of Ric Flair on television in the WWE for many years. Kurt Angle will be there. They're going to be in Philadelphia, not far from Pittsburgh. The Bella Twins, I'm sure you're all very excited that Nikki and Brie, or Nikki, or is it Brie? No, Nikki. Nikki is the host of... what's that show that comes with Barfageddon or whatever the hell it's called, right? Barfageddon after Raw. So the Bella Twins will be there. X-Pac will be there, or as Steve Austin calls him, X-Pac. X-Pac will be on the show next week. Road Dogg, Ron Simmons, Jerry Lawler, and Teddy Long. Always the same names. Every fucking time. It's appropriate to have Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker on that show because, again, they were on the first episode. And so, the Steiner brothers were on that episode as well, but they're not announced. Yokozuna's dead. And that was it, really. They had fucking Damian Demento was on the show, but who cares about that? So it makes sense for Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker to be there. And Shawn's already there anyway. But I look at another DX reunion. I don't care about DX anymore. How many DX reunions? My God. So we have them and it's just a lot of the same names. And it's just, I don't know. Everybody else, I guess, is either dead or in AEW. Which actually is not true because, they could have Bret Hart on the show. They could have Mick Foley on the show. Foley was a very big part of the Attitude Era. There are other names they could bring in. It's possible they asked certain people and they turned them down, I guess. But I don't know. It feels that way, though, doesn't it? It feels like it's the same names and then everybody else is either dead or working for Tony Khan. And they can't be there. Austin Theory defends the United States Championship against Bobby Lashley. We have the Usos defending their Raw Tag Team titles against the Judgment Day. We are going to have Becky... Yeah, I know. Steve says Yokozuna died. I know. Don't tell the Crown Prince. He finds out Yokozuna died, he's going to be very upset. Becky Lynch takes on Bayley in a steel cage match, and the Bloodline will have their acknowledgement ceremony. Will The Rock show up? Probably not, but it does sound like the first step to eventually get us to Roman Reigns and The Rock. Otherwise, what is the point of doing a segment like this next week on TV? Seems that way to me. Take a look at the Raw poll. Right on the dot. Look at that. I like these nice round numbers. We don't have any decimal points here. 50% thumbs up, 28% thumbs in the middle, and 22% thumbs down. I love it. Nice and clean, nice round numbers there. So We are right on the equator line, 50% on the dot, which is better than Raw has been doing in recent weeks. You can go vote at Solomonster on Twitter. I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you think of this show here tonight as I queue up your super chats and find out what you guys are talking about. I want to find out what you guys are saying and what you thought of the show. Hey, Hyru just dropped a dono. Thank you, Hyru. And Brumakian Productions dropped $5 earlier on. So thank you to him. It's a quiet it's a quiet night here. Everybody was watching. I feel like everybody was watching football, even though that game looked like a blowout. I think everybody was watching football. So Brumakian, thank you. Queen Fire Panda with the $10 super chat wants to know which one is the better game, WWE 2K19 or WWE 2K14? Seeing as how I didn't play either one of them, I will defer to the chat. I know it's not 2K20, I know that. Hyru with the $5. Main event was good, but it highlighted my issue with the main roster. Austin Theory aside, where are the new top stars? Where is the younger talent? Well, they're all in NXT. You may see some of those NXT names in the Royal Rumble. Justin Jack, do you see Cody Rhodes ever going back to AEW, or do you think he will finish his career in WWE? Also, same question, but reversed for Bryan Danielson. Danielson has said that when his deal is done, that's it. Like, he's not signing any more big contracts. So I don't think we've seen the last of him in WWE as far as making an appearance. But do I think he's going to have another long run there and sign a contract? I don't. I take him at his word. I think that this run he's on right now with AEW is probably going to be his last full-time run. But as far as Cody going back to AEW, I mean, who knows? You never say never. Do I see it? I don't. But I never thought he was going to be the first of the EVPs to leave and go back to WWE, and look what happened, right? So you just don't know. Angel Silva, thank you for the $4.99. I think they announced Cody to be in the Rumble so they can avoid a Royal Rumble 2014-2015 disaster if Sammy is eliminated. Also, finish the My Rise mode, please. Yeah, if Sammy gets eliminated, I don't think people are going to, they're not going to riot or rebel the way they did all those years ago. I mean, Sammy is popular, but Daniel Bryan, he was over on a completely different scale. And he was a babyface, which Sammy is not. So I don't think that's, I mean, if Cody is the one who eliminates Sammy, he'll get booed for that, but I don't think it's going to be the same. Devin from NJ2000, adrenaline in Solomonster's soul. Thank you, Devin. Luis with the $10. Do we need any more proof that Vince McMahon is booking both Raw and SmackDown from the Shadow Realm? Someone send the Winged Dragon of Raw. What? The Winged Dragon of Raw to swallow him whole. What is the Winged Dragon? Is that supposed to say Raw? You left off the W? You have the weirdest super chats, I have to say. I love you, Luis. Don't ever change. Slim Yoshi with the $5. Loved Raw tonight. Also, I'm convinced that the Edge Balor Hell in a Cell match is not happening. We are 1 week away from the Rumble. Well, Edge could be saved as a surprise for Raw 30. And they can make the announcement at that point. So it doesn't look that way to me either, but I would still say let's see what happens on Raw 30, because I think they're going to have some surprises up their sleeve. They can announce anybody they want to. but we could still have a surprise Edge appearance, a surprise Austin appearance, a surprise Rock appearance. Any one of those guys could still show up. Bob the Builder, quick question. Why do you think there is a difference between the crowds on Raw and Dynamite? There is such a discrepancy I noticed watching tonight. Yeah, WWE crowds generally suck for the weekly shows. SmackDown's had some hot crowds recently, but more so on Raw. I mean, you get these crowds that just sit on their hands and they really barely make any noise. Dynamite has been on a roll. They've been on the West Coast swing. They're going to be in Fresno on Wednesday. Their crowds are not always hot the way they've been the last few weeks, but more often than not they are. And it makes the shows a lot more fun to watch because everybody, the energy level is up. Everybody seems excited for what they're seeing. They look at those guys and girls, the ones they like, Jamie Hayter, Orange Cassidy, Hangman, Moxley, whoever it is, Darby. They look at them as stars, Ricky Starks. They react to them as stars. They make a lot of noise. You don't see that. You know, you watch these shows, it's like a fucking funeral. Is it a case where nobody is over? Or is it just a case where they're picking the wrong towns to run? I don't know, but there is a noticeable difference between the two crowds, especially over the last few weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more fun to watch these last few weeks of Dynamite compared to any of these episodes of Raw, and even a lot of the SmackDowns. AEW has found its groove again these last few weeks. Hopefully they can continue that. Then you get a crowd like you had tonight in Cincinnati. It's just where it seems like barely anybody is over. DEH Sires, after tonight, I want Bronson against Gunther. Armchair Critic, who's a bigger draw and why? Flair or Cena? Who's a bigger draw? I mean, Cena. Cena was a star on top at a time when, you know, they were packing in stadiums and for WrestleMania and selling a lot of merch. Flair back in his era didn't have the benefit of the kind of merch machine that WWE has. It's hard to compare the two. It's just two different eras. You know, Flair, for his promotion in the Carolinas and in a lot of those territories, he was the guy. But Cena was a bigger star. But you're talking about two different eras. Peter Cordieri, Cody to win the Rumble. Hey Peter, thank you for the $9.99, brother. Appreciate it. Remakian Productions, buy or sell WrestleMania in London or Japan? What would the time zone difference be in Japan? WrestleMania at the Tokyo Dome would be pretty cool. I'm debating which time zone difference would be worse for me. I'll go with the one that's more convenient. But I think WrestleMania in Japan, it would be interesting because the Japanese crowds, we were just talking about fans and energy levels. The Japanese crowds are very different than the American crowds. You go and bring a WrestleMania to London, you bring a WrestleMania to the UK, those people are going to be screaming their heads off. So actually, now that I say that, while I do think seeing WrestleMania in the Tokyo Dome would be cool, I think for the atmosphere, I gotta go WrestleMania in London. You know, those UK crowds, they're like those Canadian crowds, man. They're tough to beat. Devin, why do you think CM Punk has burned every bridge? Well, he is a very hard-nosed individual. He believes in what he believes in, and he doesn't take shit from anybody. So that tends to rub people the wrong way. Hulkling 93, Ali might as well be yelling, "What about me? What about Ali?" Also, your hair grows back fast. LOL. Could have sworn you just got a haircut. Yeah, look, I'm not complaining. Yeah, the older you get, you're lucky to have hair on your head, but it It definitely grows fast. Slim Yoshi, let's start a GoFundMe to arrange Akira Tozawa's funeral after being killed by a tsunami. He was, unfortunately, right? He was killed by a tsunami. Jamin John, is it true that Rock's WWF title defense against Shane McMahon on Raw in 2000, the highest rated segment in history, beat This Is Your Life with an 8.23 rating? I don't believe so, unless you're talking about the overrun. But I don't have the ratings in front of me, so I can't say for sure. But I don't believe that is the case. Hyru, do you think Vince shows up on Raw 30? I definitely think there's a chance, yeah. I think we might see Vince next week. Skywalker, do you think The Undertaker is working out for a comeback for a few more matches if the Saudis buy WWE, and how will Triple H book him? No. The Undertaker is not coming back. I mean, he'll be back next week, but he will not be coming back to wrestle. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling with the $1.99. Congrats on the gig at Hog. Cody wins the Rumble. Well, thank you, Pharaoh. And I agree. Cody Rhodes to win the Royal Rumble. And Rizzo with the $10 super chat. Love the podcast as usual, and I think you made a great point about Saudi being a likely buyer of WWE because they can take WWE private and Vince doesn't have to deal with shareholders like me. Yeah, I mean, again, I went into this whole thing on the podcast. I think it's unlikely that the Saudis will just outright buy 100% of WWE. I said that if anything, there's a likelier chance of them buying a stake in the company, as they have with so many other companies, so many other American companies. But if they were to do it, I don't envision a scenario where Saudi Arabia buys WWE and Vince McMahon is not kept on in some major way. So I'm sure he would love to do a deal with them, because then he can still be in the catbird seat. Question is, what other companies would want Vince or would be okay with Vince staying on in a major role? You know, what would Disney want? What would Amazon want? What would Endeavor want? What would NBC Universal and Comcast want? Would they be okay with keeping Vince on? And if so, in what role? In what capacity? Triple H can hold meetings every single week backstage and say, I'm still the boss here, right? I'm your captain. He can do that every single week, and maybe he can convince himself that that will be the case forever. But I think you and I both know better than that, and I'm just waiting. Look, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before Vince is back in create. It is an inevitability. And I think Triple H, he can say that. He may believe it. It may be true for the time being. But long term, I think we all know how this story ends. Rizzo says, I think when SmackDown is in my backyard of Detroit is when poor Sammy gets destroyed. Well, when is SmackDown in Detroit? What's the date on that? And Near says, good morning. What did I miss? Well, good morning to Near. You missed a better episode of Raw than last week. This was a slight improvement over some of the recent shows that we have seen on Monday. So thank you to Near for the super chat. Oh, this week, Deputy Dog says that SmackDown is in Detroit this Friday. I see. Well, we have a contract signing on Friday with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. I mean, so I guess so your idea then is that Sammy kind of takes the bullet, and that's the last sort of act on behalf of Roman Reigns to really kind of piss off Kevin Owens, beating up his best friend. I could see that. The SmackDown before the Royal Rumble, though, I don't know. I think it would be more likely right after the Rumble. I'm expecting it to be after the Rumble, sometime between Rumble and Elimination Chamber. But we know it's coming. We know it's coming very soon. It's only a matter of time. Rizzo says this Friday. Thank you, Rizzo. Yeah, I wasn't sure when he was referring to that SmackDown in Detroit. But yeah, so the contract signing is this Friday. It's actually, the Rumble is not this week, and the Rumble is next week. My timeline is all screwed up. So SmackDown is this Friday with the contract signing, but the Rumble is the following weekend. Yeah, that makes it even less likely to me. I'm gonna stick with my thought that the Sammy angle doesn't happen until after the Rumble. Something will happen at the Rumble that then results in the inevitable happening. But if it were me, I would wait until after the Rumble. I wouldn't do it this week. When they turn on Sammy, do they do it on TV or pay-per-view? I think you got to do it on TV. I think you got to do it on TV. That's a major TV angle that you go off the air with. And then you can have Sammy then end up challenging Roman for the championship in Montreal at Elimination Chamber. So yeah, I think that's a TV angle all the way. You don't need to do the actual angle on a pay-per-view. You do that on TV. Hey, Pharaoh, thank you for the $4.99. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling. Anyone who thinks Vince won't return to creative is more insane than Sting doing balcony dives at 63. I don't know how you can watch all of this company and family drama unfold and not believe that Vince will end up back exactly in the same position he was in before. I mean, it's inevitable. We got Rizzo with the $5. My view, they handcuff KO, and then they slowly turn and destroy Sammy, making KO watch. Man, you're breaking my heart here. Just visualizing that. It's going to be, I think it's going to be, if they do this right, it's going to be a heavy angle. And Sammy has been the comic relief in all of this, and he says the word Usi, and Jey Uso immediately begins cracking up. This has to be completely devoid of any comedy at all. Like, this has to be a heavy fucking angle. And yeah, the visual of Kevin Owens being handcuffed to the rope, unable to help his friend and do anything about it, would be pretty powerful. You know, I almost feel like they have to get color for it. In today's day and age, I know they won't. They won't do intentional color for the angle, but this is the sort of angle where if this were to happen back in the day, you know, Sammy would be a fucking bloody mess, and it would really add to it, I think, in this situation. But I imagine that we're not going to get color for it. But yeah, it's going to be a heavy angle, man. I'm going to be sad when it's over. Hey, Jay Vargas. What do I think about the saturation of spot fests in matches? Not really a fan of it. Can't say that I'm a fan. Deputy Dog says, I expect to see fans crying when it happens. They'll find people in the crowd. They've always been good about that. Even back when I was a kid, and there would be a big injury angle or something, when Earthquake squashed Hogan on the Brother Love show, sat right down on his chest. They had little kids in the crowd crying. When the snake bite with the Macho Man, they found this one kid who looked like he just swallowed a lemon. He had this look on his face. He was like crying. Yeah, they'll find some people probably shedding some tears in the crowd and then zoom in on them. Graham B. I hear that Deadlock's having one hell of a year. What do you mean? It's always good to see disappointed children or crying kids on TV. That means you've done your job correctly. You can get a kid to cry, even like Angry Ms. Girl. when she had that big sourpuss on her face. Like, that means you've done your job well. Like, that would bring me joy. If I was a heel, I would give myself a pat on the back and take myself out for like a fucking steak dinner or something. That's like the ultimate achievement, when you can make people cry. Solomonster isn't a dipper, and it shows. No dippers. No dippers here. If I'm gonna get my cancer, I'm gonna get my cancer from processed foods, like every other person in this fucking country. Bob the Builder, the last time AEW was in Cincinnati, it was much louder. I mean, there's a noticeable difference between the two companies when it comes to their crowds. Say what you want to about the ratings and all that stuff, man. When you're watching the show and the people are loud, they're going crazy. It's one of the things I loved about those Attitude Era shows. You know, we're going to get all these Attitude Era highlights next week. What do you remember about those Attitude Era shows besides the signs, right? Everybody had signs, right? How fucking loud they were because everybody was over. You kind of get that vibe with AEW. Like, to that audience, those guys are over. When they come out, they make a lot of noise. Pharaoh, Vinnie Mac injecting a lethal dose of poison. Devin from NJ, if you could undo one WWE to AEW signing, who would it be and why? I don't know if I would undo any of them. Undo as far as keeping them in WWE. If they left, they probably left for a reason. Like a Malachi Black. I mean, Malachi Black should be a top guy in WWE right now. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to undo that if I knew that he would be booked properly in WWE. Under Triple H, he probably would have been. So, I mean, if you want to look at it from that perspective, I like the House of Black. I like the presentation. But it's not like they're doing much at the moment. I might go with Malachi. You know, maybe Malachi under a Triple H booked WWE. Maybe I would undo that signing and get him back. And Zizu says, just sending some love your way. Zizu, I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Near says, poor Michael Cole is hearing probably improved significantly, and now Vince will be back in Gorilla. Yeah, I feel bad for the announcers. You know, once he's back on that headset, it's like the party's over. You know, you got a 6-month or a 9-month reprieve, because you know they're thinking the same thing. You know, Michael Cole's probably thinking, man, you know, Vince is back. It's probably only a matter of time before they spot him backstage at TV. Just knowing that he's lurking around. It's like, how much longer before he's back in the chair? How much longer before he's back in my ear? Like, maybe it won't happen, but like, maybe it will. You know, you got to live with that fear now in the back of your mind. People start walking around on eggshells again. Rizzo. Also, I spit out my drink and said, excuse me, when you accidentally said slut in the podcast, wondering how I missed that on a wrestling show. Yeah, I meant to say slot. I was talking about slots. I said sluts. Sluts, slots. What's the difference? I love them all. Remember that was the joke from the first Beavis and Butthead movie? When he was on the airplane sitting next to the old lady? She said she was going to Vegas to play some slots, and he thought that she said sluts. HBKC83, so do you make the Sammy beatdown angle a stretcher job? Oh, yeah. I mean, Sammy should not be walking out on his own 2 feet. Luis, thank you for the 5. Can we please resend Vince McMahon into the deepest, darkest place of the Shadow Realm? Again, with the Shadow Realm. Well, you love the Shadow Realm, huh? I feel like Luis is sending the super chats from the Shadow Realm. Fans chanted one more time when Alexa beat up Bianca. Yeah, well, they do that all the time. You make it sound like she's the only one they do that for. Dude, they do that for everybody. They do that for everybody. The fans are a bloodthirsty bunch. Silver Tower dropping $7 on me. $10 Canadian. Thank you, Silver Tower. Vince is like the monster in the horror movie hiding in the shadows, ready to kill people. Oh, he's like the horror movie monster who has been beaten, but then he inevitably comes back. It's like the Michael Myers. I said I compared it to a Michael Myers movie a few weeks ago. I mean, you saw the artwork on one of the clips here on the channel from the great Steve Mello. You know, when I gave him the idea. When the news dropped first that Vince came back, I said, I have an idea. I said, I need you to bring this idea to life. And he did. It was the scene from the original Halloween when Laurie is just kind of sitting down on the floor up against the door frame. And then in the background, you see Michael rise up. I said, I want Vince's face on there. Because that's exactly what it is. Triple H is Laurie. And Michael is Vince. You can't kill this fucking guy. No matter what you do, it just doesn't work. Pharaoh says, as a former service member who suffers from service-related conditions, thank you for giving me content to listen to at work when I am needing an up. Pharaoh, I'm glad that you can find some enjoyment in the podcast. If it helps you in any way, that is awesome. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. And Rizzo, that's what worries me about the Sammy beatdown. With the trolls in the crowd, will they cheer and chant one more time? See, yeah, I would hope. I mean, that's the one guy they wouldn't do that for. Because I think the fans will be genuinely upset whenever Sammy gets whacked. I think they'll be genuinely upset. I don't think there'll be people chanting one more time. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, Vince activated his magic card Monster Reborn. Yeah, I have a binder somewhere here from when I was much younger, and I used to collect all the Magic the Gathering cards. I still have a binder full of them. I'm thinking maybe one of these days for channel members, I'll do like a bonus extra video. If I could find it. I have a binder full of Marvel cards and holograms and Magic the Gathering card. Maybe I'll just kind of thumb through it and show you guys if that's the sort of thing you'd be interested in. I throw those little bonuses out there sometimes for channel members. You guys let me know. I'm sure I could dig it out. All right, well, you guys killed it on the goal. The goal was 400. We are now nearing 500, so thank you. Keep hitting that like button. It does help the stream out. But before it gets any later, you know where we're off to. We're off to a magical land far, far away. A magical land called Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Hey, it's the ex-con Don. Or Dom. Why'd I call him Don? The ex-con Dom. There he is. Be the Booker. It is time to be the Booker. Well, here we go. You guys wanted it. Ask and ye shall receive. Let's go. Let's see what we come up with here. So many faces that I have here in this animation. We begin with Murder Grandpa, Minoru Suzuki. We're off to a great start here, huh? Murder Grandpa. Who will he, let's see here. Who will he count as his next victim? What WWE star might we land on for Minoru Suzuki? It'll be Suzuki one-on-one with Eric Bischoff. Oh, I welcome this. I welcome an Eric Bischoff beatdown at the hands of Minoru Suzuki. That would give me great pleasure. That would put a nice smile on my face. To see Eric Bischoff get the shit kicked out of him by Minoru Suzuki. I'm buying on that one. I could get behind that. I like the Bronson Reed squash on Raw tonight, but that's a squash I would prefer to see. Let's go to the ladies be the booker. Kick things off here with Willow. Kind of looks like him, doesn't it? No, that's not Willow. That's the sensational. Actually, it's at that time they were calling her Scary Sherry. She looks pretty scary to me. Sensational Sherry. Back in her Scary Sherry days. Does look like Willow though. Not gonna lie. Let's see. Sherry gonna go one-on-one with Kelly Kelly. You know, I can't help but every time I see Kelly Kelly or I hear the name Kelly Kelly, now the first thing I think of is many years ago when she was first in WWE. Somebody leaked a photo. Maybe they didn't even leak it. Maybe it was from her MySpace page or something. I don't know. But it was making the rounds of I believe it was her. Maybe it was at some kind of college party or something, sitting. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. if you saw it, it's something that you would not be able to get out of your head. You know, sitting on a sink, pissing. Does anybody remember this? I feel like that's the sort of thing that a college kid would do at a party if they were drunk. I don't know. It's kind of burned into my brain. Anyway, let's move on from this. We're 1 for 1. Let's move on to tag team be the booker. Talk about sinks. We begin with, oh, look who it is. It is the Matadors and El Torito. El Torito. Part of one of the greatest Raw moments in history. I hope they show a replay of this on Raw 30 next week. When Bo Dallas, when Uncle Howdy came rounding the bend and he hip-checked El Torito without missing a beat and just kept doing his little, I don't even know what you would call it, his jog. Oh, I miss Bo Dallas. El Torito. Amazing. Well, let's see. The Matadors. The Matadors going to be taking on Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dude Love. I'm going to give that the bell. I think Austin and Dude Love would make that entertaining. I think Austin and Dude Love with El Torito running around ringside, Austin giving him a little stunner. I think that would be some good sports entertainment right there. Hear what I said here? A little stunner. Yeah, not too good tonight. We've done better. That was not the best edition of Be the Booker. Oh man. Devin from NJ, will you ever have Top Dollar's face on Be the Booker? Top Dollar's in there. Top Rope Dollar is in Be the Booker. But it's totally random. It's not up to me. One day, perhaps we'll land on it. Like he landed on the ring apron when he botched his top rope dive. Pharaoh's perspective on wrestling says Sammy gets the Goodfellas treatment. Indeed, Sammy is going to get whacked. Sammy is going to be sleeping with the fishes. With the Bobby Fishes. Do I have any glow wrestlers in Be the Booker? No. Rizzo. That and the Gorgeous George story ICP told in a shoot interview made me look at both of those ladies differently. Yeah, no, that photo was making the rounds back in the day. She was just sitting on a sink, you know, doing whatever it was that she was doing. And I'm like, wow, all right, well. I guess I had a very uneventful time in college. Flop dollar super chat. By the way, I did add a new Uncle Saudi super chat. So it's random. So you never know when it may pop up. You have to donate to find out. But yes, Uncle Saudi has been added as a new super chat. It's not any specific dollar amount. Ultimate Elite says I found the pic. Look at this. Within 2 minutes of me mentioning this, I've got people searching this out. It's out there. It's just not something that you really get out of your mind, you know. Does Awesome Kong count as a glow wrestler? No. No, she does not. Ivory was, yes. Ivory was a glow wrestler before she went to WWE many years later. Awesome Kong just played a glow wrestler on TV. She was not a glow wrestler. She was not a glow girl. So again, tomorrow we are going to be doing our, well, I guess later tonight, technically, Monday Night Raw 30th Anniversary Watch Along. We'll be watching the very first episode of Monday Night Raw from 1993. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, prime time, back here live on YouTube on the channel. So I hope and expect to see you all here joining me. We will watch the very first Raw, hang out for a little bit, chat about whatever you guys want to chat about. The chat will be open for channel members only, but everybody is invited to watch along. And then, of course, live on Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite. And then Friday night for the SmackDown stream. So a lot of content, as usual, coming to the channel. I do want to mention that the podcast yesterday, episode 791, was the longest sound off that I have done in a very long time. 3 hours sound off. You got to admit, 3 hours of the sound off, much better than 3 hours of Raw. But we covered a lot of ground, and there's a huge segment, hour-long segment on that show, counting down the 30 best segments, in my opinion, in Monday Night Raw history, ranking them from 30 all the way down to number 1. So definitely check that out, and shoot me some feedback. Let me know on Twitter if you agreed with the list. If you liked the list, share the link to the podcast with other people. You know, bring in some new fans. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Took me a while to really put that together, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Silver Tower, love these streams. You're usually streaming when I come home from work. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Silver Tower. Well, you must work late. Well, at least, hey, we got you covered here. We got you covered. More 3 hours of the sound off than Raw. Yeah, you're going to kill me if I do that. I can't do that every week. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. So be well, stay safe, and I will be back live with you in less than 24 hours for the watch along. Thank you as always for the super chats. Thank you for the love. You guys are awesome. And take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow night.